Good morning, guys. So Saturday, again, not another fishing Saturday. The last Saturday of Hodges fishing season, and then tomorrow is the final day, Sunday the final day. So just enjoying a little morning coffee. I mentioned a brother and a story with the SHAD RAPs, so I'll give you that story. So this is my oldest brother. We were fishing out of his boat and fishing. I don't know, this has been 25 years ago probably, and we're fishing in this cove at our home lake back in Ohio, and I don't even know what I was throwing, but snag got hung up and was able to get pulling on it and get not my bait loose, but get the snag loose. And I pulled this stick up, this tree branch, and had got tangled in line, got hung up in fishing line like so many times. And I pull it up, and there's my bait, and on that branch is a SHAD RAP. So there's a number 5 SHAD RAP in that shad pattern. So the bait had been there so long, not long enough to rust the hooks, and not long enough to damage the bait. It wasn't slimy, it wasn't dirty, but the hooks were fine. So I'm like, I'm gonna tie this bait on. I'm gonna try it. So I tied that thing on, and it had been there long enough to where it had become waterlogged. Somehow water had gotten in that bait, so it created kind of a neutral buoyancy on that SHAD RAP. And I don't know if we even caught much that day, but in that same cove there's a riprap bank, bigger riprap than what you've been seeing me fish. It's more of a big chunk rock, boulderish, and started throwing that bait, and like I say, it was suspending, so you could crank it down and it would just hold right there from that being waterlogged. So you crank it down and it would just stop. You could just stop it, and it would just pause right there, and it wouldn't go. So first SHAD RAP that I really had, I'd had cheaper ones before. This was that number 5 SHAD RAP in that shad pattern. So cranking down there, wham, 4-pounder on a bait that I just snagged off the bottom. So I'm like, wow, this is insane. So we moved down the bank, wham, 4-pounder. So that day I caught 2 4-pounders on the bait within probably 15 minutes apart that I just snagged off the bottom. And that day built the obsession with the SHAD RAP. So from that day forward, I immediately went and started buying SHAD RAPs, and he immediately went and was buying SHAD RAPs. Other brothers buying SHAD RAPs, and just started pounding bass on these number 5 SHAD RAPs. I caught muskie. Shortly after that, I went back to that same kind of area fishing off of the shore, and the bass had these shad just pinned. There's 2 coves come back up in. The right cove is where I caught these bass, and it kind of went out and around, and there was a smaller cove on the left, and the bass had these things just pinned, pushed back in that smaller cove on the left, just hammering these shad. And I don't know, 16 to 20 pound limit of bass out of that little cove in Ohio. That's pretty good in a short period of time, because they were just busting. So you just, catch them as fast as you can. But also that day I caught a muskie. Caught like a, 24-inch muskie or something. One of the first ones I'd have caught. But later after that, we were fishing in that same cove, and a muskie, he had the same brother had foul hooked his SHAD RAP, and it was coming across the surface of the water, like buzzing across the surface, and this muskie just blew up on it, and he didn't want to hook it, so he reeled his bait in, got it out of there. It missed it, didn't get it, and I immediately, we were throwing the same bait, so I immediately fired my SHAD RAP out there. Within like 3 cranks, this muskie ate that bait. And I can't tell you how big this fish was. It was biggest muskie I've ever had hooked, biggest muskie I've seen in that lake. got it up to the side, and this thing's jumping out of the water, completely out of the water. And I've caught 42s, and actually he had caught one, a buzzbait, I believe, the year before, or earlier that year, and had netted it with a net similar to the net that I use in my kayak, and got it in the net, had it in the net, and had a picture of this fish in the net. 20-minute fight, people on the bank cheering and asking me what we have hooked. And, I mean, it's coming out of the water, shaking its head. He gets it in the net, partially in the net, head first, and the head, it goes out of the net, the tail's out of the net, and it bends down in the net, and its head's sticking partially out the other side of the net. And he, tries to lift it in the net, and the hook, the Shad RAP had got hooked in the net, and it gave the last flop and flopped out of the net. But the one he had in the net was a 32, and it easily fit in the net, and this was up the side of the net, out the net, and hanging over the other side. So I would think it was probably a 48 at least, but just gigantic on a bait this big on bass gear. Just ridiculous. But since that day I had caught, I don't know, probably at least 5 muskie on that little Shad RAP. I caught, like I say, a 7-pound largemouth, right around 7 pounds, not 7 1/4, somewhere. I never had a scale to weigh it, but it was just shy of 23 inches, pre-spawn, early in the year, March, in Ohio. That fish I caught shore fishing in a marina, and had gone, we'd walked the marina, and I'd caught a 19 or 20 inch fish, and walked the entire marina, which was a 1/4 mile long probably, and came back to the exact same spot, caught the big fish out of the exact same spot. But so if you never really throw a Shad RAP, it can be just an amazing bait. When they're on that Shad RAP, it can be just an amazing bait. So segue from there. So from the Shad RAP, we moved on and started looking for other baits that were similar to the Shad RAP, that would do similar things. But when we would start throwing baits, I'm sure there were people that beat us to it, but like that marina, we would get in that marina and we'd do a lot of night fishing, and we would pick up a bait and fish that bait, and 2 weeks later we'd have been on a bite for a couple weeks, and then you start to see that trickle effect of people. And we wouldn't publicize, like there was no YouTube back then, we weren't making YouTube videos, but you would start to see more and more people using the same baits that we were using. So we would, again, so you'd see more and more people throwing the Shad RAP, more and more people throwing the little 6-inch worms that we would throw. We would throw 4-inch power worms, and you see more and more people throwing the 4-inch power worms. So kind of, I'm not saying we were the only ones doing that, or we were the only trendsetters, but we were definitely setting some trends. So I found these baits, and these are designed for walleye. These are Wally Divers. This guy right here, this chrome one. So when they wouldn't hit the Shad RAP, we'd go to this Wally Diver head, and not as good as the Shad RAP, but definitely works. So I picked these up off of Amazon. Normally Amazon, if you buy baits off of Amazon, you're going to pay a premium. These are designed to where you can troll them for walleye. Now here's the chrome one. And again, it's a Wally Diver. W-A-L-L-Y. And they come in at least 2 different sizes that I know of. There may be even bigger ones. It's made by Cotton Cordell. I think there's like a super Wally Diver or something like that. So yeah, it's a Wally Diver. There we go. And Cotton Cordell Wally Diver. This is the 2.5-inch version. CD5. It says on it, CD5. Cotton Cordell. This is 3 classic 2.5-inch cotton cordell Wally Divers in the most productive color patterns. Golden perch, chartreuse, and classic creme and black. So that's that one. Yeah, that's the chrome and black. You can see it's kind of got a foil effect to it. I think it's wrapped in foil. Kind of just a subtle knock to it, but it's got this metal ball in the bill. It helps it dive and stabilize it. That's what I think it does, stabilize it because it's made for walleye fishing. You control it. And then there's it's kind of a chrome perch. They call this a chartreuse perch, but basically just chartreuse and green. And then I also picked up another one. It's kind of special perch, I think it's called. Yeah, special perch. This was just like $5, $4 or $5. So I thought with this one, the closest thing I could get to a bluegill color. I don't think I can get it out of there, but I think you can see it. So it's kind of got that bluegill color to it, color pattern. So with those Hodges fish, I think that's kind of a mainstay that they feed on, or that bluegill. So those are some of the new baits I got. I think that's pretty much the newer stuff that I bought. These are really cool little baits. I've not seen them. They're weighted. Sorry about the traffic, guys. We are at first house on the street, and the main street is right here beside it. So this is the one that I caught the 17.5 on. So you can see it's chrome black, and it's the Ultra UL Crank 03 is the actual name of this thing. Ultralight crank. But yeah, it's kind of like almost a fat wrap, but they're plastic, they're not balsa. It's got just a little bit of a rattle to it, very fine beads in there, but they're weighted. It's a BFS bait, a bait finesse bait that Rapala makes specifically for bait finesse. But they have a kind of a weight to them. The beads in there kind of help that cast. But the other one, the smaller one, actually I have one of those in here too. This is the chrome. That's the chrome pattern with this jet flyover here. The joys of living in bigger cities. So this is the chrome pattern. As you can see, it's basically like a SHAD RAP kind of feel to it, but much smaller. A number 5 SHAD RAP is way bigger than this. It's at least a ½ inch longer and a ¼ inch taller and balsa. But this throws better than a SHAD RAP. So this one just a little slight rattle, if you can hear that. I may chase some lizards behind me. Our little dog. She likes to chase the lizards. So again, this one's weighted to make it cast better, and this is kind of a slow sink. So it just it hits the water and just slowly sinks. So again, I have that tied on. It's more of a shad color. It's like a grayish tan. But you'll see that in the video. I bought the co-worker's husband one of those to try to get him on some fish. And then I have some other ones too. Actually, here's the actual color, the shad color. This is the little fatter crank. Get it undone here. How these things get so tangled so fast, I have no idea. So that's the actual color. As you can see, it's like a gray, silvery white. But the UL Crank 3, Just a really cool little bait. They actually dive down quite nicely. I mean, that thing goes down 5 feet. So, it's basically a SHAD RAP bill. It's got a little cup on it, make it dive down a little bit deeper with that. Yeah, check these out if you haven't thrown them. You can throw them on spinning gear. They'll throw. We got, like I say, there's some weight to it. And there's a chartreuse and blue. And I've got it's kind of a purple and chartreuse. More of a shad pattern too. That's when I almost threw this one in the tournament, but I picked up the chrome instead. And we got another. I picked up 2 of those. Like I say, I always try to buy 2. But they're not overly cheap. I think they're $6 or $7 a piece for these little baits. So that's the intention. Throw this bait and that shad pattern. We signed up for a monthly tournament. It's a couple weeks, I guess. A couple weeks of a tournament. So it starts on November 4th. And runs through November 19th. November Bass Battle by Kayak Fishing Nation. And it's your typical tournament. Best 5 bass limit. And goes again from November 4th to November 19th. I can't fish, likely won't fish November 18th and November 19th. We have family things going on that weekend, so I've taken off that Friday and plan on fishing that Friday up until that Friday. Again, tomorrow is the last day at Hodges, so we're going to be moving on to different lakes. I think myself, I'm going to move on to El Cap. We need to learn some of these other lakes. I'm going to move on to El Cap, fish that into November, and then after El Cap, I'm going to move on to Lower Otay, and then from Otay, move on to San Vicente. We've got to learn these lakes. We have the club we're signed up for. We're going to sign up for SoCal Kayak Anglers. Come March, I can believe the first tournament for them will be in April, and it'll be at one of Socks and Cookies tournament. But he's apparently one of their frequent flyers, and he puts on tournaments that after their tournament season stops. He puts on his own tournaments. So what he does is, if he can get donations of tackle or prize donations, he'll the funds he will donate directly back to Socks and Cookies. So they have more funding to send out like Christmas packages or care packages to our troops. And amazing, Socks and Cookies, amazing. But for him to do that on his own, he's done it on his own, is another amazing thing coming out of Socks and Cookies. So his tournaments haven't been established yet for the year, but he's going to do one in November, one in December, and another one in January. I will post up a link to his tournaments when they come up, but I'll put up also a link to his YouTube channel he has. And his tournaments are going to be nationwide, so anybody can fish them. And it'll be same setup, best 5 bass limit. And then I believe he said it's a 48-hour tournament, so it'll run from basically Saturday morning at midnight until 12:59 p.m. Sunday night, I think is how it's going to be set up. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100%. If that's 48 hours, I believe that's how it works. Kind of fill you in on what's going on and what's going to happen over the next month or two. I'm taking Hunter today to the UCLA Colorado football game, so that's why I'm no fishing today. But I'm hoping to get out. We can get home early enough tonight. It's a 4:30 kick. So hopefully if I can get home early enough tonight, I'm hoping to get out there tomorrow. So that's our plan. That's my plan. Whether Jerry will fish the exact same tournaments I'm in or do something different lake-wise, but that's my plan, is to fish this November tournament at at El Cap and kind of learn the El Cap, how the bite is there, and kind of learn the fish there. I think those little baits are going to work there as well. The last 2 times I've been to El Cap twice, and both times I've been there, I've seen that little pattern on bait. But there was a lot of little bait there, so I'm going to give that a shot there. I caught them on crankbaits there. I caught them on jigs. Had a big catfish on there. I think it's going to fish really similar to Hodges. It's deeper than Hodges. There's 140 feet of water there that I've seen. The water level was really low when I was there, and I saw over 100 feet of water. Big riprap, some big boulder areas, some flooded bushes. Even though the water was down, there was flooded bushes. I think the water had even been lower, and the bushes grew, and then it grew up into those bushes. So I think it's going to fish very similar to Hodges. Otay, lower Otay, is completely a different ball game. It's toolies, some depth. There's some depth there. I've seen 90 feet. I think I may have seen 100 feet, but it's out center of the lake. The toolies all the way around that lake. There's some standing timber in the back of that lake. But yeah, toolies. So toolies for the first 30 feet of water coming off of the shore, like from the shore out at least 30 feet, and then drops off into, like the toolies are in 20 feet of water, 15, 20 feet of water. So it's a lot of punching. So you can go there and punch. You can catch fish out in front of the toolies, crank and drop shot. There's submerged boulder fields. It's kind of a different thing. So that's the big learning curve at lower Otay. So it's going to take a little bit. And I've not caught a lot of fish at lower Otay. And the ones I have caught haven't been that big. Caught some 14s and 15s. Nothing too significant. But they're there. I know. I watched some previous videos on lower Otay where guys have limited on 20-inch fish, frog fishing. So there's some big ones in there. And then San Vicente I've never fished before, but I understand it's a pretty killer lake itself. And then if we get to Perris is a big fish lake as well. It's also a big pleasure boater lake, a lot of jet skis, a lot of pleasure boaters. It's heavily fished lake. So, and I've caught some fish out of there, but I've not done well. I've not fished it that much, but I know guys do well. There's a lot of big 6 to 10 pound bass in that lake that can be caught. So I've not fished it much with the kayak, but it can be had. So we'll go from there, figure out. So that's the plan moving forward for the year through at least March, and then we will go from there and see how things go. So if you're going to stick around on the channel, please do. We're going to continue to fish through the year, through the winter. Can't guarantee we'll put a lot in the kayak, and we're going to learn, and hopefully you guys can learn with us. I've not fished a lot here in the winter, so it's definitely going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a lot to take in. So hopefully we learn, you learn, we can teach on the way, we can learn together as we go through this process. And then come spring, the plan is to put a bow mount on the kayak before the season starts, before the SoCal kayak angler season starts, because with trying to punch and trying to spot fish, I want to do spot fish, find those schools of fish and pick them off. And trying to do that in that wind, like you see that wind at Hodges, it's almost impossible to do that. So especially trying to punch toolies and trying to hold in one location and fish, throw your bait back in at 20 feet of toolies and work it out without blowing down the bank 20 feet. It's going to be hard to do. So I want to get that trolling motor on there and get that mounted up. So I'll take you through that process of getting the trolling motor set in, dialed up, getting my electronics dialed in, beginning that process of fishing the tournament scene and joining a local club and getting into that setup. So hopefully you guys stick around. Hopefully we are able to provide some information that will be beneficial to you and provide some entertainment as well. So I have some other thoughts in mind. We have a couple lakes in the area that aren't that great for bass fishing, but there's great catfish, there's great carp fishing. If we get some slow times with bass, I'll pick up some carp gear, go out there and try to get on them. So we'll see. There's a local lake here, a local natural lake, and it is full of carp. And Jerry's texting me right now. So, but it is full of carp and catfish. There's currently some really nice catfish. May not just be some bass videos you guys see posted up here. So there'll be some equipment videos and some alternative fishing videos, not just bass. Maybe some crappie videos. Jerry's talking about possibly trying to go do some trout fishing. They put trout in all these lakes. So stick around, guys. We're gonna have some good content coming. Hopefully some good content coming and some beneficial stuff. So not just SoCal bass fishing. We're gonna do some maybe even some deep blue cat. There's San Vicente has big blue catfish in it, and I want to try. I need to figure out the regulations on what live bait fishing or cut bait fishing. And I want to take my big swim bait rod, drop that down, drop some cut bait down there, see if I can get into some. Who knows how big a blue cat? I mean, there could be a 60, 70 pound blue cat in there. I don't know. I know I hooked into one that was like 20 pounds, at least as big as the two that I caught on bass gear. So out of Hodges. Try to get some good content, so stick around to the channel. We appreciate it, and keep checking out Jerry's channel as well. It's sorry guys, my throat is still not better. I've been battling some nasty bronchitis, nasty sinus infection, so I apologize for that. Been trying to cut that out as much as possible. It's been really a battle. So, alright guys, thanks for sticking with me, and tune in for that game tonight. If you see an Ohio State fan in the Rose Bowl tonight at UCLA, Colorado, say hi. It's likely me. I seriously doubt there will be any other Ohio State fans in the stadium for that game. So alright guys, so hopefully I see you on the water tomorrow. It'll be the final day for Hodges, and then we will move forward together in this journey. So alright guys, thank you so much, and if you want to join us in one of these tournaments, they're nationwide, please do. We'd love to have you guys in. Kayak tournaments, I don't know if small boats are okay, but this November tournament that we're fishing it's nationwide too, so if you want to join us for that, there's still time for that. You can sign up. I think November 3rd will be the final day. They'll release the identifier on November 3rd. So if you want to sign up for that, but it is also, you can fish live bait for that. So if you guys aren't the best artificial bait fishermen, you can fish live bait in that tournament. So if you want to join us, and we would love to have you do that. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon.